Hi guys, welcome to Beans Reads. Today I have a couple of stories from the Am I the A-hole subreddit. Yet again. We're starting off strong today, so hold on to your hats and get ready. Hey guys, just so you know, there is a death warning, the death of a friend, so if you're uncomfortable with that, please skip on to the next story. Thank you. Our first story is from the Am I the A-hole subreddit by user you3072. Am I the a-hole for not adhering to someone's plans following a funeral? Hey, I warned you that we're starting off rough, and I did not lie. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the funeral of a friend. We found out the date of the funeral. One of our friends, I'll call him Paul, tried to make plans for after the wake. It was a meal cooked by his mom, a video game, and Paul said we should stay at their place. He wanted to stay at the wake for a couple of drinks and then go home. Several of us let him know that we didn't want to commit to any plans and would do what we felt was right on the day, but that we did intend to stay longer so we could support the family. Over the following weeks, Paul asked many times if we had made any plans. The night before, Paul asked again what our plans were and stated that we shouldn't stay at the wake too late because his mom had cooked. We let him know we'd be staying at a hotel so that we could leave the wake when we felt it was right for us. We did say that if we left at a reasonable time, we'd come and play games as he wanted. On the day of the funeral, his mom came with us, and it did feel like we were being rushed into leaving at the time Paul had planned to. He and his mom had wanted to leave after 2 drinks, around 4:30 p.m. We let them know we'd be staying. We heard lots of lovely stories from the family about the friend we'd lost, Dave, and were able to support those who were finding it hard. A sibling was especially upset, and without too much detail, they left and didn't let anyone know where they were going. It caused a lot of worry due to the circumstances around Dave's passing. A close friend asked us to stay, and so we did while they went to go find the sibling. He returned, we stayed with him, and left at 9 p.m. as others were leaving. While we were at the wake, Paul texted asking when we'd be leaving. We said that we'd be staying due to the friend asking us to, and then text to say when we left at 9 p.m. that we could come to them and get a taxi. We talked to Paul about the sibling and the worry about his well-being, and Paul only said, "Oh, how much rice do you guys want?" The day had been extremely emotional, and feeling dismissed at this point really upset me. I chose to go for a walk to avoid any further upset. I was very hurt, but perhaps I shouldn't have walked out. At this point, I did not want to stay. Those booked at the hotel left too. The next day, Paul texted the group that he was very upset that we had not supported them during the funeral, that they had made plans and arranged things for the day, that we didn't sleep there, their mom had especially made food for us, and that they were just trying to do something that Dave would have enjoyed. We said that we did not want to plan anything, that we felt like he wasn't listening to us. Days later, Paul declined calls and said that he needed time to think. He canceled an event with us and said to find another way to get there and to respect that. We agreed to make other plans. He hasn't spoken since. So, to get this out of the way, you are not an a-hole. You and your friend group made it crystal clear to Paul that you guys didn't want to make solid plans after the wake. Which is fair enough. You guys may not be feeling up to doing anything after the funeral, let alone hang out. Maybe you just want to hit the hay and zone out for the rest of the day. And that is completely valid, no judgment. But was Paul not a close friend to the one that died? I know that everyone grieves differently and it can hit at different times, but isn't Paul your friend too? You guys told him not to make concrete plans, but he just kept on it. And then rushing you during the funeral? Why wouldn't he want to be there to support you guys and then just schedule a group hangout later? I know with conflicting schedules, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. It just seems pretty inconsiderate to rush people who are already going through a difficult time just to do what you want. Maybe Paul deals with grief differently. I don't know. Maybe he's the type of person that would rather act like everything is fine and move on, or maybe he's even already made peace with it. But friends are supposed to be there for you and support each other in times of need, and very obviously, your group and him do not grieve the same way. The only thing that I could think of that would have been better to do is to outright reject his plans instead of telling him that you guys would be there if you left early, because it seems like he's just hearing what he wants to hear, and he took that statement as, oh, I'm going to leave early with you and then go hang out. Either way, when you guys texted at 9, that isn't a reasonable time to hang out when you probably are all emotionally drained from the funeral and just want to nap. But to reiterate my point from before, I hope you know that you are not the a-hole for doing this. Are there better ways you could have gone about it? Yeah, but hindsight is 20/20, and I think you handled it the best way that you could at the time. Let's take a look at some top comments. Not the a-hole. Everyone grieves differently and that's okay, but it sounds like Paul was trying to strong-arm you into his plans when you were quite clear that you weren't willing to make commitments. It might have been better just to decline, especially as Paul's mom was cooking, so she didn't over-prepare. But that's not enough to put you in the territory. Paul, on the other hand, gets the for his behavior. Paul's mom, maybe, we don't know what info she had. If Paul was telling her you guys were coming over, then she's reasonable. If she knew everything in OP's post, then she's also the. That said, your friend just died. Sometimes people behave badly when that happens. Give it a little time and then see if there's a chance at reconciliation. OP responds saying, I do get the impression his mom wasn't aware of us having said we didn't want to commit or make any plans. I think she was likely acting on information from Paul, which may have not included what we said. It's hard at the moment. Like you say, a friend has died and it's difficult for everyone. I think it just hurts because he's left the group chat and didn't acknowledge us when we walked past at the event I mentioned. But on the other hand, I understand he's had an idea in his head, and when it hasn't happened, he's disappointed. I'd say if his mom was just going off of what Paul said, which honestly is probably the case if none of you guys contacted her, then she's pretty free of blame. She probably expected her son to keep her updated on what's going on since he's the one who set up the plans and was in contact with you all. Regarding Paul, like the commenter above and I had said, he may be grieving in a different way, but that's no way to treat a friend. It's not like this was a predetermined hangout and then leaving the group chat and ignoring you guys. That's a pretty nasty thing for him to do at a time when you all need to support each other. I get he's in his own head, but right now isn't the time for that. I do have to wonder if maybe he's neurodivergent. I know I'm personally neurodivergent and I'm not the best at picking up social cues and I can be quite stubborn. It's just something to keep in mind because it can explain a lot. It doesn't excuse it, absolutely not. Because even for me, someone who struggled a lot with picking up social cues, even I know now as an adult that this is not the right way to react. And as much as you want to just do your own thing and do what makes you comfortable, that is not how friendships work. And you will not maintain those friendships if you keep that mindset. I hope that makes sense. I tried to explain it as best as I could. Also, looking through the comments, we got ages and an answer for the question that I had earlier. Apparently, OP says that Paul is also a friend of the deceased. I kind of figured that if he wasn't a close friend, that maybe he was a friend of a friend, but no, he was an actual friend. Grief is difficult and doesn't always make sense, but there is a time when you have to step outside of yourself and be compassionate towards other people, especially your friends. And for the ages that we got, I assumed that everyone was maybe in their early 20s because I can see making a mistake like that in your early 20s. But no, they're all in their late 20s to 30s, which is a little surprising, I can't lie. Our next comment by Swill Shaw says, "Not the a-hole. Paul has some other emotional holes in his life that are bigger for him than the passing of one of his group's good friends. That's something he's going to have to deal with. You cannot fix that for him or make him feel better when you can't/won't be his fix." And you're right, he's not listening. He doesn't seem to be able to. The rest of the group, 1, communicated clearly, even if he ignored your words. 2, were exactly where you needed to be and with whom you needed to be. You can feel sorry for Paul and whatever holes in his life that he has. You can also feel sorry for his mom, who was probably given completely incorrect information by Paul. If your group knows Paul's mom well enough, I think you should share with her what everyone's communications with Paul has been. It may achieve 2 things. 1, help her understand why you all didn't come and eat her food that day, and 2, help her help Paul actually recognize what all of your responses were saying. Had this been while Paul was still talking to you all, I would have suggested you asking him to share, or more like read, the communication thread you all had to his mom. Doing that may have made the words break through, or, again, his mom may have helped him see what he had been ignoring. That's a good point. He may not listen to you guys and brush off what you say since you're so involved with the situation. His mom seems more like an outside party, and he may be more open to her advice if you can get her on board. If you explain things to her and show her proof, she might try to talk to him and figure out why he acted like that in the first place. And going back to my theory of maybe he has some type of neurodivergency, it really depends on how long you guys have been friends if you would already know that. Because some people are really private with that and just prefer to move about their life as is. And some people will share with their friends, hey, I have ADHD, hey, I have autism, something like that, you know? And our final comment is by Clueless in Wonderland. I'm going to say not the a-hole, and that probably nobody's an a-hole. Paul could have been trying to get everyone over there as a distraction from grief, but that's just not how everyone else was grieving. Unless there's a pattern of him being dismissive and selfish, I'd give him a lot of space and see if he comes around to understanding what happened. You're not an because leaving awake early to go play video games was not how you needed to grieve. Wanting space after feeling pressured to act like you weren't attending a friend's wake isn't unreasonable. Fair enough. After getting more info, I think this is just more prominent that it's more of a consideration problem. If he does have a pattern of acting this way and you've tried talking to him about it, it might be best to just be casual friends rather than close ones. I don't want that to be the case and that being what happens, but if people aren't willing to change, you can't change them. It all depends on how you're feeling and his usual behavior though. Our next story is from the r/Am I the A-hole subreddit by user I poisoned the milk tea. Am I the a-hole for taking my sister-in-laws off our subscriptions after they told my wife to keep me on a leash? So, a small intro. My wife, Lee, is 28. I'm 26. My wife's younger twin sisters just hit 22. My wife is a bit of a black sheep in her immediate family, and her younger sisters, Mac and Gail, receive a lot of financial support from their parents. The younger twin, Gail, receiving the most. Lee and I celebrated being together for 10 years as of March 21st of this year. We weren't planning on doing anything for it at first, minus a small date due to our budget, but my wife's great aunt happened to give a nice bit of cash to all of her grandnieces, nephews, and their partners at the family Christmas. My portion immediately went to tackling my personal debt, and Lee wanted to use her money to take us on a little road trip to Manitou Springs, Colorado around our anniversary date, or at the end of March, early April. I was hesitant, but I decided to let her plan because she's got a knack for planning trips, and I trust her judgment. Also, we haven't gone anywhere in over a year, and Colorado is on our list for nature exploration. Prior to this, the twins were planning a trip to Colorado Springs for their 22nd birthday, flying out and back around the end of January to early February. They had their trip booked and finalized before Christmas, and at first wanted their mom and my wife to join in. Their mom declined almost immediately to save PTO for her and their dad's 30th anniversary, which is at the end of October. And my wife officially backed out a couple of weeks before Christmas due to funds, a lack of planning and communication from the twins, and a lack of general difference in itineraries between them. They wanted a spa trip and to explore the city life. My wife wanted to explore the outdoors and see places like the Garden of the Gods. A couple of weeks after my wife starts planning, she goes to hang out with her sisters one night and asks Mac for any ideas for outdoorsy activities that she thinks my wife and I would enjoy. Mac says she doesn't really know, but is happy we get to do something for ourselves. They finish their hangout and go home without anything happening. 2 days later, my wife joins a Discord call with her younger sisters, and they want her to apologize for planning their birthday trip minus them. Gail does all of the talking. Mac is work from home and was listening in during her shift. Lee apologizes for making things feel that way, but defends her reasoning for not going with them on their trip and assures them that no, there is no malice behind our trip plans. Gail states that we have the right to do so, but also insists that it's offensive to their celebration and that this can only be seen as a personal attack, stating that my wife's paycheck timings wasn't a good enough reason when it came to funding, that we were practically going to the same location, and claiming that she was trying to find things for Lee before she backed out. Lee didn't hear about any of those except for a tea room where she'd be paying extra for a dietary accommodation. My wife hangs up after a long silence between them as nothing was being resolved. Lee relays all of this to me after she says she no longer wants to go on a trip at all. And I messaged Gail a few hours later to ask what happened and what hurt her feelings. Also, my wife can be a bit sensitive to a lot of negativity and rejection, and I wanted to see if I could diffuse things since Gail and I can both be headstrong when we feel a lot. I thought I could reason with her a bit because I thought we bonded enough over the years for this to be the case. Gail says she doesn't understand why I'm getting involved when Lee could have talked to her and Mac directly. I tell her that I thought that was what their prior call was about and that I care about my wife's feelings, especially when they're hurt. Also, if the twins are upset about our anniversary trip, that having an issue with it affects me as well as the other attendee. There's a bit of an emotional escalation from her as we keep messaging. She's upset, and I understand that, and I try to keep my cool and stay rooted in reality as much as I can. I remind her that our budgets are very different. Mac and Gail have access to a parent's credit card without a limit, while my wife and I are almost paycheck to paycheck. And Mac had already mentioned before this that Gail will be paying her back for her portion of the trip over time. That they don't want the same things out of a trip. Both parties are going at least a month apart, and the expectation of the older sister owing them attendance once she did receive some extra money doesn't seem fair. I tell Gail that being disappointed about plans changing or not spending time with family is valid, but assigning that blame to her older sister and expecting her to fix it by whatever means necessary isn't. She says I did nothing except dismiss her feelings and that I think she's nothing more than a spoiled brat, and that if I don't understand now, she fears I never will. I agree with her on not understanding, but also remind her that I didn't call her a brat because her feelings are coming from somewhere vulnerable and real. but that her method of resolving it by unloading her frustration onto someone else isn't okay. And sometimes when folks see something wrong going on, that they'll speak up about it. 2 days later, Mac messages Lee that she's disappointed in her big sister for allowing me to speak to Gail that way. That my wife should have kept me on a tighter leash when speaking to my sister-in-law, and that I crossed a boundary that they cannot go back from. That their partners would never speak to their sister-in-laws that way, when they have, and we've been present to mediate, and that I made Gail feel crazy for how she reacted. And that my wife dismissed their feelings about her planning this trip instead of going with them, and that she regrets lying to Lee when she asked her about how she really felt. My wife reads it and doesn't reply. I spent the evening that message came through removing the twins and their partners from the subscriptions we've covered for them for a few years now, because something about that message just felt so gross is the word that feels best. I also just don't think it makes sense for me to pay for stuff for someone who thinks of me like something to be kept on a leash. Dogs don't pay bills, am I right? Truthfully, I have no idea if or how it impacted them since we haven't spoken since then. They've gone on their trip and back, and we actually couldn't go on ours at all because my wife's health and my car dying. So those funds got used for those immediate needs instead. We've since found small ways to celebrate and live our lives away from the twins, as they truly think that I'm the a-hole. So, after all this mess, should I have just kept my mouth shut? Should I be leashed? Am I the a-hole? I think worrying about taking them off your subscriptions is the least of your worries right now. While I do think it was well deserved for the way that they treated you, implying that you're a dog, no. And your wife, I can't help but wonder what set them off. You're not an a-hole, but these sisters' response is a bit much. It seems like your wife has always been walked over, and as soon as she tries to do something for her, at the inconvenience of her sisters, she gets made into this heartless villain. Also, why is Gail saying anything when it comes to speaking to people about another person's feelings? Just as you spoke for your wife, Gail spoke for Mac on that Discord call. The sisters could have thought that your trip was kind of like stealing their trip and excluding them, especially since it was a last-minute plan. But going about it in a way that just kind of singles your wife out isn't right. And thinking about it now, they probably did it on purpose because they know that you would have backed your wife up if you were on that call with them. But still, they should have set up a call with both of you since this trip does involve you too, and spoken honestly about how they felt when their emotions had cooled down a bit. If they were understanding of Lee's point of view and they just wanted to hang out with all of the women in their immediate family, then they could set up a little trip in the city for their birthday instead. Even though Mac wasn't speaking in the call, it was still 2 against 1 since apparently she agreed with all of what Gail said. I'm sorry you couldn't go on your trip, but I'm glad you could still find a way to celebrate despite everything going on. Now for some comments. Sweet Lobster 9977 says, if your budget is tight, you shouldn't be paying for other people on anything. Full stop. Yes, it is right to kick them off so you can hopefully downsize your subscription packages, but yes, you are being petty by only removing them now that you're upset, even if it is justified. Stop trying to integrate yourself with her sisters and set firm boundaries. And don't get involved with her sisters unless your wife asks you to step in. OP responds saying, learning this lesson. We've talked boundaries in the past few months and are working on building a community outside of her immediate family. Admittedly, I definitely should have removed them the first few months we didn't receive support like we discussed, but holding on to that turned into what I am seeing now as my own bit of fiscal leverage. Doesn't make things better or different just because I'm the one doing it. Thanks for the feedback. It's wonderful that you're finally building a support system outside of the family, OP. Hopefully, you can put up some boundaries when it comes to her family if you decide to stop going low contact with the sisters. Doing something nice is great and all, but if it's hurting you in the process, then that just means that it isn't the time to be doing it. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you just don't have the wiggle room to worry about someone else's luxury expenses. Because that's what they are. It's not like they need your subscriptions to live or anything. They'll be just fine. And if what you say is true that they're financially supported by their parents, then they'll probably have those subscriptions right back. So OP in a few different comments mentions the reason for paying for their subscriptions when the sisters have free access to their parents' card. What had happened was that in the beginning, he thought that they were splitting the subscription bills and would all use the accounts. There were around 3 different subscriptions, so it was a pretty hefty bill. Specifically, OP and Mac paid the majority, if not all, of the subscriptions because Gail said that she couldn't due to her struggling, and I'm guessing OP's wife gave her portion to him. I don't know, he doesn't say, so that's what I'm going to assume. Anyway, around a year ago is when he found out that this was not the case at all. And our last comment by Planty Pen Person says, "Not the a-hole, your wife's sisters are the Your wife, however, is the one who needs to manage her family, not you. So don't get involved. And your wife should see a therapist so she can better manage her emotions about her family, not let herself be manipulated, and learn to deal with their BS directly. Take them off your subscriptions." Yeah, OP's wife definitely needs to be able to stand up to her family. I think if there aren't any affordable options to see a therapist, then she might benefit from looking at a few books about manipulation. While it isn't ideal, at the very least, she can start with looking things up online and see where it goes. I hope she can see what her family is doing to her is wrong and that she deserves better. Our next story is from the Am I the A-hole subreddit by user SufficientPaint9415. Am I the a-hole for siding with my friend's ex over him about her cheating? This to me, 26F, is stupid, but my friend B, 30M, and his own friend group is really harping on me that I am the a-hole for taking his ex-K, 32F side on this subject. First, the context. B and K are in divorce proceedings that have been going on for about a year now. B is holding on while K has seemingly checked out. I don't know why they're divorcing, as B has been tight-lipped about it, but from an outside view, it just seems like they fell out of love and fought a lot. There are no kids involved in the picture. Last weekend, I visited B for a group hangout. It turned out to be more of a sad man's parade. I don't know how, but one of the friends found out that last month, K had a one-night stand. That's it. No affair, no cheating while they were together, being found out, but a simple one-night stand she had last month. B was destroyed and started to cry, then get outbursts of anger, calling K a cheating. Ooh. Huh. Okay. Anyway, calling K a cheating, that I just had to open my stupid mouth and say that while, yes, you two aren't divorced yet, you aren't together anymore, and it wouldn't be cheating. B and his friend looked at me like I had grown a second head, then pretty much exploded on me, calling me a traitor and an. He and his group have now been sending messages calling me an like that every day since. My wife and my family think I was in the right, but I feel like they're biased to take my side. TLDR, am I the for taking the side of my friend's ex-wife and thinking that considering they are separated and getting divorced, which has been more than a year in progress, that she didn't cheat on him when having a one-night stand last month? By the way that I reacted to that word, I'm pretty sure you can tell how I feel. What OP's friend said is wrong. Point blank, period. There is no reason, on average, you should ever say that. I just wanted to make my stance on that very clear before I get into if OP is wrong or not. With that out of the way, I'm not saying you're an a-hole for calling him out, because his ex didn't deserve that. It's been a year since they filed for divorce, and she hasn't cheated. You have to be in a relationship to cheat. However, you had to know that he didn't want the truth in that moment, right? I know you weren't expecting your fun hangout to turn into a depressing one, and that at the time you were probably annoyed. It's just, there probably could have been a gentler way to put it. It was right to call him out, but you probably knew that he wouldn't respond well. B obviously still loves K, or at the very least is in denial about the relationship status, and to him it probably still feels fresh, no matter how true that actually is. Some friends do appreciate it when you call them out in the moment, but some respond better if you take them to the side and talk to them about what they said. I can't comment on why B is being so cagey about the divorce or whether one party is solely at fault, but I will say you guys should be encouraging him to move on, considering it's been over a year at this point. He doesn't have to find someone else right away, but it isn't healthy to be so honed in on his ex's activities. And that goes for everyone, by the way. If you are laser focused on your ex's activities, I know you probably still care about them, but like this person, if it's been a year or so, it's not healthy to keep clinging on to that person, you know? Also, that one friend that told him about his ex, dude, please read the room. You probably know how he is by now. Why would you then poke the bear by outing his ex's private life to him? At that point, you're just doing your friend a disservice. Anyway, OP, you are not the a-hole, and I hope you make some better friends, because if they're using that word just casually, and it's not a woman who's reclaiming it and using it in a fun or joking way, then they don't have any right to say it. Here are a few top comments. Crossing Guard Crush says, not the a-hole, and a good time to question whether you want to hang out with men who call women that word. OP responds saying, I think I'm going to stop being friends with them. I was just the token woman member anyway that would either give them insight on women or just when they wanted a woman to agree with them. I think this is what it was, as I'm not that close with B. That's a good idea. I was more focused on whether or not you were an a-hole for calling him out in general, so I didn't really get into too much of what he said. It's bad enough only saying it in front of guys, but it's pretty odd that as another woman, they expected you to side with them when they were degrading her? What? How does that even make sense? For some reason, I thought that OP was a guy. I think halfway through the story, my brain just shifted into thinking that OP was a guy, and I was just like, wait, a woman? OP being the token woman of the group just makes this whole thing worse. I can't believe they actually felt comfortable saying that in front of you. Then going on and spamming your phone with texts about how you were in the wrong and how you are an yeah, okay, bud. Another comment by Manga Babe says, not the a-hole. If you're in the process of a divorce, then you're already broken up. The divorce is dividing assets and dissolving the contract. Getting mad about this is like getting mad someone had a job interview during their 2-week notice. Bro sounds possessive if he thinks she's cheating on him after they're over. And who she sleeps with when she's done sleeping with him is not his business. Especially if they don't have new kids to be introduced to new partners. If I want to be charitable, maybe he thought he had a chance to fix things before this, but jumping to calling her that word seems to be telling in my opinion. The last comment by Miss Sem84 says, "Not the a-hole. You were correct that she did not cheat. It's perfectly okay for him to be sad that she's moved on when he clearly hasn't, but that doesn't make her a bad person. B and his friends are the for throwing around that word, and as a woman, that would be the end of my friendship with them if it were me. I guarantee they would not be calling him the same thing, even if he had 100 one-night stands since they split. Absolutely. If he did the same thing, then they'd probably be congratulating him for moving on. In which he should be. It doesn't need to be serious, but at this point, he needs to let go. The last thing he needs is his emotions turning into anger." Our next story is from the r/Am I the A-hole subreddit by user Mundane Trainer 4418. Would I be the a-hole if I told my nephew his father is the reason it looks like I got him nothing for his birthday? My 38F nephew turned 16 today. Months ago, I asked my brother 39M if I could get my nephew concert tickets for his birthday. He approved and said yes. His mother only sees him once a month and sometimes he doesn't even go. She doesn't have custody, so I didn't bother asking her. I got tickets for a band my nephew really likes after I got the approval. Since it was his first concert, I wanted it to be special and bought really good seats. Tickets cost $500. I got these tickets during spring break. The concert was going to be in July. Anyways, about a month ago, my mom tells me my nephew is going on vacation with his mother for 2 weeks. During the time of the concert, and my brother approved of him going away with her. My nephew will be gone for 2 weeks with his mother, which has never happened before. I think it's a good thing that he will spend time with his mom, but my brother approved of me taking him to the concert before his mom even asked about taking him on vacation. The system will not let me resell the tickets. I didn't get the insurance because I didn't think I'd need it, and now I'm out $500 because I can't resell and I don't want to go to this concert. It's a band my nephew likes, not me. Also, I'm not made of money, so I haven't been able to get my nephew anything else for his birthday. I simply can't afford it right now. I always go all out for my nephew. When I see him today and only hand him a little cash, I know he's going to be disappointed. Would I be the a-hole if I told him about the concert situation? When I see him today and only hand him a little cash, I know he's going to be disappointed. Would I be the a-hole if I told him about the concert situation? I don't want him to get upset, but I also want him to know I do care about his birthday, but his dad f***ed me over this. Edit to add. His mom is taking him out of state with her new husband, so I can't give the tickets to them because they won't be in state to attend. Also, the reason this hit ahead recently is because I was told he might need to go to summer school and wouldn't be able to go with his mom, and I could take him to the concert. We found out 2 days ago he doesn't need to go to summer school. I will take that as a blessing. I never wanted that for him, and I haven't had a chance to talk to my brother about it since we found that out. I think the fallout falls more on your brother with this one. You contacted him in advance about the tickets and got the okay from him. If the mom had plans and told him, then he should have conveyed that to you. And if she made plans after you got the okay, then he should have told her about yours so that way you could either get refunded or she could move the trip back. Personally, I still would have at least sent the mom a text message asking if she had any plans for his birthday and telling her what time the concert would be. It probably would have been more of a formality than anything, but as you know, it doesn't hurt to be prepared. If you can bring up the ticket situation calmly, then I don't think you'd necessarily be the a-hole. I'd go ahead and tell him something like, "Hey, I'm sorry this is all I can give you this year. I did plan for something else, but it just ended up not working out and I can't get a refund. We can go to your favorite restaurant or something when I have a bit more money instead, though. I'd leave the actual sorting of the situation and arguing with the parents. You would be the a-hole if you ruined his day over his dad's. Your nephew doesn't deserve to be dragged into it, especially on the day of his birthday. Here's some of the top comments. Bumbling Through says, "Not the a-hole, give him the tickets anyway, and feign surprise when it's mentioned he'll be on a trip with his mom. Let your brother handle the mess he created." This just seems like it's more for your own satisfaction, though. I mean, I just feel bad for the kid. I know he just turned 16 and he doesn't really need to be treated with kid gloves. It's just I feel bad doing that on the day of his birthday. Do you know where I'm coming from? If he keeps insisting to know the reason why his gift this year is so different, I'd probably be honest then, but tricking him like this could get your visiting time cut off by the dad. Another comment by Hopeless Caribou says, "Give him the tickets. Tell him you bought them a while back without knowing his plans to go away, and that you hope he can sell them to some friends that like the band as well, and that he can keep whatever money he gets from them. No need to mention mom or dad, just a possible solution to the problem. It's not really your brother's fault. He couldn't tell his son that he couldn't go away with his mom just because his uncle got some concert tickets. Your gift is not the priority in this situation. Not the a-hole, but you would be if you made this all about you." Also, I do want to clarify that OP is not a man. She seems to be this kid's aunt. I just wanted to clarify that because I know I can get a little confused when it comes to who's who. But anyway, I think I liked this comment. I wasn't sure what to do about the tickets. And it's possible that OP's nephew has friends that like the same band. This way it fixes that problem and also lets him know that you were thinking of him without making his birthday turn into a shouting match. If the nephew really wants to go to the concert instead, then you could tell him to talk to his dad about it, assuming that you had talked to his dad before. OP responds to a comment asking if they talked to their brother about the schedule issue, and suggests that they could just give the tickets to the nephew and tell him that they bought them in advance and he can choose what to do. OP responds saying, "Yes, my brother told me not to worry because his son was most likely going to go to summer school and that he might not be able to go with his mom. We found out 2 days ago that he doesn't have to do summer school. His mom is taking him out of state, or I would give them the tickets. I love my brother, but I'm worried about saying anything to him. He has a lot going on. He's a single dad to 3 kids, and I don't want to start a fight over money or this whole situation. And it was his birthday gift, so it was going to be a surprise. I think if I told him, he would rather stay home and not go with his mom." I'd bring it up gently with the dad. Your nephew is 16 and old enough to decide on what he wants to do for his birthday. Especially if this is his 16th birthday, because turning 16 is kind of a big deal. It's usually when you get your first car and you can start doing more adult jobs. And basically you kind of get treated as a mini adult. It's a little awkward to explain, but that's how I've seen it happen. And if he wants to go with his mom, he will. But honestly, I don't really see a teen giving up a concert of their favorite band to go on a road trip with their parent. I mean, I know I wouldn't. Talking to his dad will help you guys figure out a game plan and will make some of the stress and guilt go away. If all else fails, he could refund you the tickets cost and you can get your nephew something else. I know you said he's a single dad, but maybe he could pay in installments. It really depends on how good your relationship is with your sibling. Now, as of reading this, we do have an update. I will not be taking my nephew to the concert and he does not know about it. My brother, even though he said he would not force my nephew to go with his mother, is making him go on vacation with his mother. Because of this, I have not and will not tell him about the concert. He's already upset about being forced to go with no cell phone. That's another story, and I don't want to make it worse. I tried posting the tickets on StubHub, but Ticketmaster will not let me transfer the tickets until 48 hours before the event, so I cannot attempt to resell them. I was going to take my nephew to the concert, so I didn't need to transfer them originally. I actually also got him a custom magnet from Etsy with the concert details. I also spoke to my nephew's mom, and she said she told my brother about this trip a year ago. So when I asked my brother, he already knew. Isn't that nice for me? I learned a very expensive lesson. I'm upset because my brother has 2 other kids I would love to do stuff with, but this gives me the ick of not wanting to buy any of them tickets or experiences ever again. If anyone could help with advice for me to get over that, I would appreciate it. Okay, so with OP saying that his brother is a single dad to 3 kids, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, but how on earth do you know about this trip a year in advance? I mean, the mom could be lying, I don't know, but if we take it at face value and assume that she's not lying and she's being truthful, then what the brother did was really If it just slipped from his mind at the time, then that's one thing. But as it got closer to his son's birthday and he remembered the trip or got reminded of it somehow, he could have told OP in advance. And then maybe OP would have had time to figure out what to do with the tickets instead of 2 days before her nephew's birthday. Next time, OP, I would cover all of my bases and make sure to text both parents about whatever plans you have because you don't want this happening again. And I would definitely ask your brother to repay the cost of the tickets, even if he has to do a monthly payment plan, because this is ridiculous. Our next story is from the Am I the A-hole subreddit by user OKZone2374. Am I the a-hole for borrowing my friend's shorts when my mom didn't give me any money to buy some? Okay, so my dad sent me £70 for my birthday and he was going to send me some more later, so my mom took £35 out of it and said that she would give it back when my dad sent child support. I have a concert today and I didn't have an outfit because my mom is broke, so I asked my friend if I could borrow her shorts. We went into a shop yesterday and I saw some cheap shorts and I asked my mom for my money back and she ignored my message. I now have shown my mom the outfit and she asked where I got the shorts and I said I borrowed them from a friend, and she gets super mad and calls me a beggar. Now I feel stupid for asking for the shorts, but I genuinely use the same outfit 5,009 times in a row, and in a school full of rich kids who wear a new outfit every hour of their lives. I feel left out, so I don't want to wear the same clothes. Am I the a-hole? Bold of her to call you, the child, a beggar, when she is actively using your birthday money for whatever she's using it for. If she needed it for bills, that's one thing, but she shouldn't have resorted to treating you like that when you showed her your outfit. When you told her that the shorts were from your friend, she found out that your friend probably knows what she did because, come on, what teen isn't going to vent to their friends about their parents? Your mom probably feels embarrassed and is taking it out on you. At least that's how I see it. I'm gonna take a guess and say that you're a teen. If you want your own money, check if there are any jobs within walking distance and hide whatever wages you have from her. I had some not so great bio parents that took every penny they could from me under the guise of bills when I was a kid, and if your situation is similar, it's probably best to find a place outside of the home to store your money. In any case, I'd bring up the situation with your dad. You could ask him to put your money on a debit card that he can lock and unlock when you ask, so that even if your mom gets a hold of the card, she can't use the money whenever she wants. He doesn't have to confront your mom about it if it'll make your living situation worse. He could just send the card in the mail. At the end of the day, you shouldn't feel dumb for wanting to buy something with your own money. Here are some of the top comments. No BSing here says, I'd be livid if I sent my kid birthday money and their father borrowed it. Next time, don't tell your mom he sent you anything. She's worried about how she would be perceived as a mother over your own needs. OP replies saying, I wish I could just tell her that he didn't send me money, but she checks my bank records. I'm 17. Every month because she hates when he sends me money and I don't tell her. Gee, I wonder why you don't tell her whenever you get money from him. That's why I recommended a separate debit card that your dad has access to. It may not be a perfect solution, but it could help. OP also gives us the reason their mom took the money. It was for OP's bus pass for school. I am going to go out on a limb and say that the mom doesn't have the most friendly relationship with her ex, because why wouldn't she just ask to borrow the money and pay him back when she could? It's for their kid, so it shouldn't be a problem. She could even send receipts to the dad, proving that she spent the money on the bus pass. And our last comment by Gorilla Boy 75 says, "Not the a-hole, friends borrow clothes all the time. I once ruined my best friend's sweater with candle wax. I've borrowed and have had borrowed from me jeans, tops, shoes, bags, suitcase, hair ties, hats, shorts, hoodies, dresses, and skirts. Even a bathing suit in an unplanned swimming venture. Your mom needs to get over it. If your friend was happy to help, you are fine. I hope the concert was fun." Yeah, it's perfectly normal to borrow clothes from friends. I know that for me, I've had to borrow clothes from my friends and they've had to borrow from me. It's not a big deal and your mom's reaction is undeserved. Although I'd hope you treat your friends' clothes better than you would treat your own. And our final story is from the r/AmITheAhole subreddit by user Big Guns Upstairs. Am I the a-hole for not calling my neighbor before I walk dogs? So I, 34M, walk my dogs every morning around 6. Every morning from about a year ago when I was walking my dogs, my neighbor's dog got out of their yard. My German Shepherd and her dog, I believe it's a bully mix, started getting into it, and so I tried separating them. I didn't know what to do at the time. So when I was trying, her dog bit my thumb and I had to go get stitches. I didn't file any complaints or anything because I figured it was an accident. So roll on to a couple of months ago. I'm walking the dogs and she stops me and yells. Not like mad yelling, but just loud. She was in her yard and I'm in the middle of the street. She goes, "I need to talk to you. We need to work out a time for when you're walking." In my head, I'm like, I take 5 seconds to cross your house. Mind you, she's not out every morning either, or at least at the times I go to walk. But I feel like I shouldn't have to text her. Plus, I don't want her to have my number. The other day, she yelled, "You're supposed to text me." But I left my house at like 5:40 that day and I just yelled, "I left early. Sorry if it's hard to read." Don't worry, I cleared it up a bit. Anyway, I think it goes without saying, you don't need to text your neighbor every time you need to go and walk your dog in the morning, and you're definitely not an a-hole for not doing it. She's being a bit ridiculous. If she's worried about her dog getting out of her yard, then she should bring them in about whenever the time she notices that they're going wild. Because trust me, dogs will bark, and they will bark at anything that gets their attention. Or alternatively, she could go outside with her dog on a leash and tie him up just until you're gone. Although I doubt that your dog is the only dog that dog has gone wild at. I know that there are super long, sturdy leashes that you could clip onto something, and at the very least, they won't get out of the yard then. If she can't be reasoned with, then I'd either put on some headphones when you go for walks, or take a different route if you can. Here are a few of the top comments. These first two were just too good not to include. Sometimes we need to add a little silliness to get through all of the drama. Anyway, Salty Astronaut 9419 says, "Correct, you never know if a passing Dutch sun is going to devour your creature. I've seen it happen." And Sufficient Opening 21218 says, "The legendary Long John Dutch devouring its way across the states. You never know, he could be belly crawling down your street right now, opening gates, luring German ships, bullies, molligators out of their yards, and then snap, gone forever. Just a ripple in the suburban lawn where his little short legs wandered on. I hope you guys found that funny. I know I did. Getting more into the serious comments. Toe Beansies responds to a comment about how it's OP's neighbor's responsibility to manage their dog 24/7. Fully agree. If you completely changed your walking path, what's going to happen when someone else starts walking that road or some kids move in next door and play in the front yard? Especially with kids and bully breeds, the dog doesn't even need to bite to be labeled as dangerous and put down. If the neighbor's dog causes another accident and that person wasn't as lenient as OP, then she would be looking for a fine and could definitely have her dog put down. She's not only putting everyone else in danger, but also her dog. Bulldogs can be real sweethearts, but thanks to the stigma they have and people not training them right, they're more at risk of being put down, and that's just horrible. Sad Exercises 420 says, she knows her dog's just dangerous and is worried there's going to be another incident. Does she even have a fence? OP responds saying, yes, before though it had gaps, then after the bite she put like chicken wire-esque material. But when I cross her yard and the dog is out, it goes all wild in the yard and she tries to put him inside. Yeah, she needs a yard leash. She could even wrap the extra cord around something so it's not too long, but she needs to do something. It would absolutely be less stressful for her, and she wouldn't have to bother everyone crossing in front of her yard. And yes, some dog breeds are known to be more aggressive than others, but that is why you get them the training that they need. If you can't provide that, then I'm sorry, but you are going to endanger that dog and other people. It's not right for either of them to be hurt just because you want that specific type of dog. Outro time! I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and sub if you want to see more of me. Don't forget to give this a like if you want to see more videos like this one, and I hope you have a great day and night. Beans out. Bye!
You want to say hi to the people? Go and sing for them.